Just like any other closure brick, double butter the last brick in the arch. After completing your arch, now is a good time to check to make sure you didn't lay any brick backwards, where the back of the brick is facing the underside of the arch. Replace any of those now. Our inner arch is complete. We're going to be putting 2 more roll-up arches right over top of this. We need to space out for our next course of row locks. We don't want stack bond right in the middle, so we're going to put a head joint right in the middle of the project now, and we'll space out accordingly. This is what it's going to eventually look like in the center of the project, with a head joint right above this keystone brick in the first course. We're going to use our spacing ruler again. I'm going to mark each side of this head joint. We're going to use our spacing ruler again from each side, from each pier. And we'll need to space this out again. At the very edge, it is going to be stack bond up against the piers. The joints will either open up or tighten up to up here to where we have a head joint now in the center. On the third course, we're going to go back to a brick right in the center. I have the center line marked here. You may be able to see 3 individual lines right here. The center line is the one in the middle. I have a head joint marked out right beside the center line. Using the spacing ruler, I can see that we're coming up between 3s and 4s. We are 1/4 inch away, or 4/16 away from getting this number 4 back to this mark. I'm going to lay 4 courses on the number 3 and the rest of them on a number 4 from right to left. I'm going to flip the ruler around and it's going to be the same from left to right. We don't have to worry about holes and halves anymore. We're not going to be seeing whether the brick is a hole or a half anymore. Every brick now is going to be a back. It's going to be a half. I'm on the back of the project now, and I've ran out of height on my piers for the horizontal string line to keep these row locks in line with the rest of the project. So I'm going to build up some more pier. Hopefully I can get it to the very top of the arch. All right, we've got our piers up to a good height. We'll definitely be able to get at least the second course of row locks over the arch. Also, I've constructed this little piece of wood. This is the spacing from the bottom of the row lock to the top of the row lock arch, with these lines here representing the bed joints. I could just draw it on the piece of wood that we have coming back from our spring line, but I want to be able to draw it on the string line on the back of the project. So I just put it on a piece of wood. This is going to help us from getting too big of a bed joint or too skinny of a bed joint on our second and third arch. we've completed our second row lock course. We're going to do the third and final one. We're going to go back to sort of half bond for the center brick, same as the first course. Put the half brick here, splitting this head joint, and I draw, again, a head joint on either side of the brick. Move that away. Use our spacing ruler, again, from our skew backs on our pier. We fall right in between a number 2 and a number 3. Right here, number 2 and a number 3. We're about 1/4 of an inch behind if we lay all 2s. So what should we do? 1/4 of an inch is 4/16. We're going to lay the first 4 courses on a number 3 and the last 8 courses on a number 2. We're going to do the same thing over on that side of the pier. Number 6 lines up perfectly with that. Now again, going back to aesthetics, we just did a row lock course with the number 4. They are on the big side. I don't want to go any bigger than what that course just was. So if that was a 4, I definitely don't want to go to a number 6. Back to a number 2 and number 3. Sounds good. So we're going to go 4 courses on number 3, the rest on a number 2. We're going to do that on all 4 sides. I can't go onto the third row lock arch yet because the piers aren't built high enough. The piers aren't built high enough because I ran out of room. I can't go any higher with the piers. I can't go any higher with the piers until I lay a few row locks here, maybe 1, maybe 2, and then I'm going to have a real weird cut right here. This bird's mouth cut. It might be on one piece, it might be on 2 individual pieces, but it's going to be an odd cut. And with this, we have options. I could have made this piece maybe a 5 3/4. That would have made this bird's mouth cut a little bigger. Either way is correct. Whether we do that and have a little bigger of a bird's mouth piece. But I already got this brick laid, so I'm not going to pick it back up. I'm going to set this row lock. And it looks like that should get us to a good height, where I can set one piece here and one piece here, or maybe this is going to be just one piece altogether. So I'll do that on all 4 sides, and we'll build our piers up higher. We made our bird's mouth cut. Doesn't look too bad. 27 tries. Now that we have that bird's mouth cut in there, that's going to take you a few tries. Just understand that this angle right here is a 90-degree angle. You're following the corner of this brick. So take a few measurements and you'll be fine. I'm going to lay 1 or 2 more row locks. Then I'm going to hang the line and I'm going to show you how to mark a creeper cut. We're going to lay 1, maybe 2 creeper cuts into the arch. That way I can continue the piers up to the final height. I'll do that on all 4 sides of the project. Now we're ready to mark our first creeper cut. We went high enough with our row locks that our creeper cut is going to go into the arch fully. There's several ways that we can mark this creeper cut. The first way, use your stick rule, measure from the bottom of this brick or the top of the joint straight over to the arch, holding the ruler level. We have exactly 6.5 inches from the edge of this brick over to the arch. We could then subtract one joint over on this side and somewhat of a joint from over on this side. We're not going to subtract a full 3/8. This being on an angle, it's going to be a little less than 3/8. You'll see what I mean a little later in this arch. That's one way to mark the cut. Another way, way that I prefer, is get something to use as a spacer. I found some cardboard in the back. There's a head joint. Here's the joint up against the arch. I can measure this distance at the bottom and this distance at the top. This is already giving me the space for the head joints. So I'll measure this. Here we're at 6 inches at the bottom of the brick. I'm going to mark 6 inches on this brick. There we go. 6 inches marked on the bottom. Now I'm going to go to our string line. That represents the top of the brick. We have over 7 5/8 of an inch. This brick being 7 5/8 long. We have over that measurement. We're at about 8 1/2, which means that the cut isn't going to go from here to the top corner. The cut's going to go from here to somewhere in the middle of this brick, and then we're going to have a second cut from here to the rest of the way into the arch. The way we figure that, where that cut is going to end, we're going to figure where 7 5/8, how high up on this brick can I go with 7 5/8? Again, I'm measuring from this head joint to this piece of cardboard. 7 5/8 is as long as we can go. I'm right about here. Right about here is going to be our brick. That's as far as our brick is coming to. I'm going to take a measurement from that mark up to the string line. We have pretty much 1 inch, which tells me I need to leave 1 inch on this brick from here to here. We're going to have a head joint right here, and then a very small piece, if a piece at all, to continue the rest of the way into the arch. Here's our brick. I'm going to measure down 1 inch. And I'm going to connect these two lines from here to here. That's going to be the first creeper cut in this arch. I'm going to save this little piece. This little piece may be able to flip around and go right in here. It looks like it might be a little too big, but I can always cut it smaller. I'll go cut this. We'll install it. And then we'll be able to continue with the pier. We're going to do this on all the sides. Now we can use whatever you want as a spacer. This is cardboard, some cardboard that I found in the back. Ideally, if you could find a piece of expansion joint on the job, you can use a piece of expansion joint. You can use these little pamphlets here, right, as a joint. Whatever it takes to get that proper measurement, right? Just look around on the job site. You'll find something. I'm not going to supply something for you. You can find something. Now we're going to lay our first creeper cut. And here's the small cutoff piece. If you were to make this all mortar, that'd be fine too. Now we're on the other side of the arch, stretching our spacing rule out over top of the arch again for our third row lock course. Over here again we have the number 2 coming out perfectly to the edge of our head joint. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 on this side of the arch. Now I'm going to install a few row locks over top of the arch right here so that we can again mark our bird's mouth cut and our creeper cut. Now we're over to marking this bird's mouth cut. We're going to take our ruler and from the bottom of this brick measure over to our row lock. Try and hold the ruler level. We see that we have 1.5 inches. We're going to take another measurement right here from about the middle of the brick to the row lock. Here we're at approximately 7/8 of an inch. Do another measurement at the top of the brick over to the row lock, holding the ruler level. We're at about 2 1/8 inches. We'll take one more measurement, and that is from the bottom of this brick to the point of the row lock, and we're at 1 inch. Now we're going to use those measurements to mark our bird's mouth. Now we're going to mark our bird's mouth cut. We know our bottom measurement was 1.5 inches. I'm going to subtract a 1/2 inch from that measurement. Pretty much 2 1/4 inch joints, 2 tight joints. And I'm going to mark the bottom at 1 inch. That's the bottom of our bird's mouth. Remember that the measurement from the brick upwards, we had 1 inch to the point of our bird's mouth. Our top, we had 2 1/8. I'm going to subtract a 1/2 inch again and go to 1 5/8. Our last measurement was 7/8 in from the edge of the brick. We're going to subtract pretty much a 1/2 inch again and go to 3/8. Our bird's mouth cut should look something like this. We're going to cut this on the saw. We'll see how it fits when we get back. Now we'll test fit this bird's mouth cut dry to see how it fits. And it looks like it's going to fit pretty good. Now we're ready to mark our first creeper coming from the left side of the arch. We have our cardboard spacer over here and our cardboard spacer over there, making it easier to measure. I'm going to hold the ruler level with the bottom of this brick right over to our other cardboard spacer. And for the bottom, we have 6 1/8. The bottom of our brick is going to be marked at 6 1/8. Now remember, the brick is only 7 5/8 long, so as I move this ruler up, I'm going to get to 7 5/8, and it's right here. I'm going to mark on our cardboard, on our spacer, right there. That's as long as the brick's going to be. Now we need to measure down from that mark. Well, I'm sorry, from the string line to that mark. I'm using the bottom of the ruler. And again, we're at 1 inch, same as the other side. So 1 inch down from the top of our brick is where the angle cut, the miter cut, is going to end. So I'll show you how to mark that. Here we're marking out our creeper cut. We remember that our measurement from spacer to spacer was 6 1/8. I'm going to mark that at the bottom of the brick. And if you remember, we measured down from the string line 1 inch. That's as far as the brick would go. We're going to connect those two lines. Here's our creeper cut. We're going to save this cutoff piece. We might be able to use it again later. Now we're going to lay our creeper cut. We're going to remove the spacers. Here I have the cutoff that I trimmed up a little bit. We're going to lay that in. Now we're going to do the same process on the other side of the arch. I put one brick in the center, sort of on half bond, same as the first course of row locks. I'm going to mark the edge of the brick and a joint on each side. Now we're on our next creeper course. We did our first one here. Now we're on the next one. Put the spacers in. You can see we have about 6 inches on the bottom. As we bring our ruler up, I want to see where it gets to 7 5/8. Right about here. This is how long the brick is going to be. And I want to take that measurement from here to the line. We look at about 1 inch. So it's going to be a very similar cut to what we just had right here. All right, I have enough creeper cuts laid now and enough row locks in the arch that we can build the piers up higher. I'd like to get to at least 1 course above our last row lock. I'm going to jump back on the piers and build them up 3 or 4 courses. All right, now we have the piers built up to height high enough that we could put a string line through there and definitely get all of the row locks laid. We have enough height on the piers that we could even mark off the rest of the creeper cuts and install them. We're going to go ahead and do that. All right, you're at the appropriate height of your arch when you hang the line on your lead, and your keystone brick comes right to the string line. Now, that's the heights that we figured out when we started the project. And we keep our heights on our piers. Everything should work out just like that. Now we have both piers up to a good height to where we can at least cross over with one course. We need to cut some more creeper cuts. We're going to do that now. Now all the creeper cuts are laid. Now we should be able to cross over with no problem since we hit our heights. We're going to cross over with one course, and I'll do some more courses later on. Now we're going to build 2 course leads on both sides and just fill it in. Now that we laid all the brick in the project, we're going to remove the arch form. We're simply just going to knock out the wedges that's holding up the form. It's not going to go anywhere. Now we're looking at the underside of the arch. You can see some mortar oozed out. We're going to need to chip that away. If this was real mortar, we would need to chisel that away. Now that the underside of the arch is all pointed and smeared up, you're going to brush it and make that look nice. All of these holes and voids that are out here on the corners, you need to make those corners look nice.